Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over the top 10 decks as we approach Atlanta Regionals. I'm doing this video a day early to help everyone prepare for Atlanta, so I hope you like that. In this video, we'll be covering over the top 10 decks as the metagame has kind of positioned them as we approach the first weekend of post-rotation legal with physical trading cards. The lists in this video are going to be available in the pinned comments, so you can check that out in the comment section. You can copy and paste those right into PTCG Live. And of course, you can, if you need any of the cards, check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards, PTCGL Store, and if you need any sleeves accessory, check out Ultimate Guard. I've worked really hard on this list. I hope you all enjoy it. Not every single deck can be part of the top 10, so some decks had to be cut, but this is my top 10. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments by putting your guesses for the top decks, and let's jump into it. At number 10 this week, we have Zoroark EX. Now, it was hard to really put this top 10 together because the bottom few decks seem like there's a lot of bottom decks, and I really didn't know where to start. Zoroark EX has limited options to copy with Night Joker, namely being Ends Darmanitan and Ends Reshiram. Sure, we could see Ends Joltik, but I don't think it's necessarily powerful enough, nor with all the Dragapult going around, do I want to have low HP Pokemon on our bench. As we copy things like Darmanitan, we can get back our energies with Ends PP up. And this is really the most consistent I could make this list. I figured when in doubt, make the deck consistent. Let's get the deck working, and we'll see exactly how it plays out. I expect a lot of people to be playing this deck, maybe not like an outrageous amount, but there's enough people that are fans of Zoroark EX that we will see some kind of meta share at Atlanta and at early events. Do I think it's going to do incredibly well? Honestly, I think that this deck's a little bit underpowered or just a little bit lacking of options in our early metagame, so we'll have to see how it goes. If you haven't already put a comment there or like this video or anything else like that, that all really helps out. So urge you to do that. Let's see what we got going on at number 9. At number 9, we have Future Box. I was about to say Turbo Iron Crown, but Future Box is the deck. And really, we're looking for a replacement for Miraidon in our format, so we can use Amp You very much. Blake and I recently recorded a video for this. It's probably going to be coming out in a week or so on the channel in tabletop gameplay. But Iron Crown EX adds extra damage counters so that your Amp You very much does more damage, and you load up with Miraidon or Electric Generator. Really easy gameplay, very aggressive. Sometimes that gets you there, sometimes it falls a little bit short. That's why it's a little bit lower on this list, because there's enough decks that can kind of come back from it, from either playing Disruption or just not really worrying about Amp. But sometimes you're just Amp Boss, Amp Boss, Amp Boss, and it's absolutely over, like an old school Miraidon EX would be. So if you're looking for that aggressive gameplay, this is going to be the deck for you. Let's jump into our number 8 pick. At number 8, we have Charizard EX. Now, Charizard EX has its new kind of facelift with the Noctowl engine, but we're also seeing Pidgeot, kind of like what we saw in Terapagos, Pidgeot's Dusknoir decks previously, maybe about 6 months ago. Going with a stage 2 Terra usually requires a basic Terra. In this case, Terapagos is usually going to be our better option. Powering up your Pokemon is going to be relatively the same, with Infernal Rain carrying this deck with energy acceleration, and of course Burning Darkness scaling that damage as the game progresses. It's a little bit down on this list this week because Bidoof is seeing a little bit of a rise in play, but this deck can always attack with Fan Rotom or Terapagos EX in those situations, and then late game go for the Charizard Dusknoir Briar play that really cements it on this top 10 list this week. Are we going to see a lot of it at Atlanta? I'm honestly unsure, but it seems quite strong in general. So maybe once the metagame shifts up a little bit, we're going to see players going back to the Zard. At number 7, we have Archaludon Poison Package. Now, Archaludon is starting to see a few more different builds. We've seen Zoroark builds, we've seen Dubwool builds, the Dunsparce builds, Scizor builds. This is the one that's performing the best, and that's why we're going with it at number 7. Being able to go Pekkarunt plus Perilous Jungle plus Ancient Booster, Brute Bonnet for this turn 1 wombo combo of knocking out your opponent's 80 HP Pokemon or less can be great to win before the game starts, very similar to Cloth of years past. And Archaludon really packs a punch late game with its Metal Defender attack, being able to scale itself with Binding Mochi and the rest of the poison package. Does it work? Yeah, it's actually not too bad at all when it comes down to it. I think it's a relatively strong archetype, a little bit inconsistent for my liking, but in terms of just like a deck that scratches all the right itches in my brain, this is definitely the deck. Let's see what we got going on at number 6. At number 6, we have Raging Bolt EX with the Noctowl package. The biggest question that I get asked all the time is this build better? Is Iono's Belly Bolt build better? Or is the build that Azul posted with just straight Raging Bolt better? Right now, if we go based off all of the success online, we got to go with Raging Bolt EX with Noctowl as seeing the most success. Does that mean the other builds are not viable? No. But does it mean that this one's seeing more success and I should feature in my top 10 best decks? Yes. Has all the right answers for the metagame, including Slitherwing for Pikachu EX when you run into Terabox, Cornerstone when you run into walls, and of course, all those Professor Sodas to load up energies to use Bellowing Thunder to your heart's content. This deck should be fairly aggressive. It's decently well positioned in the metagame. It's fairly popular as a pick, but right now there might be a few other big basic decks that are kind of taking the spotlight from this deck, putting it at number 6. Now we're about to enter the halfway mark of this video. I do want to remind everyone that we do have our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards and PTCGL Store to get your in real life cards and your online cards. Of course, we have our sponsor at Ultimate Guard. So if you're looking to get any Pokemon accessories, we recommend those and we use those majority. Now, we also have all the list in the pinned comments, so be sure to check that out and give this video a like, share, subscribe. It really does help amplify the video to the masses, and these videos do put in they take a decent bit of effort to put in. So anyways, I'm yapping. Let's jump into number 5. At number 5 this week, we have Gardevoir EX. Now, Gardevoir EX has been rising through the ranks as players have kind of experimented with other builds with Secret Box, other than going for the Brilliant Blender. Maybe we didn't need to discard stuff as much as we really needed to. In this case, we're going to go with a traditional Gardevoir build that has Badoo, a handful of different techs, and of course using Lily's Clefairy to really beat up on all those dragon-type Pokemon. Of course, maximizing your damage against Pokemon with a large bench. There's nothing incredibly special about this list, but as we look towards the metagame forming for Atlanta, Gardevoir seems like it's much better position than it was previously, and that seems to be Gardevoir's thing. It finds itself not really seeing the success at the start immediately of online events, and then it kind of catches everyone by surprise and sees success. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gardevoir EX had a really strong run at Atlanta this weekend, but maybe it won't. We'll have to see how the rest of the kind of early Journey Together format goes. I'm excited for it. Let's see what we got going on at number 4. At number 4 this week, we have Gholdengo with the Dunsparce. Now, we've seen a bunch of Gholdengo builds, including those in Dragapult decks, those with Scizor, and maybe just straight Gholdengo, but I think that the Dunsparce EX usually has enough options to get around any kind of wall Pokemon like Cornerstone, and of course the Dunsparce engine gives us extra draw that we are lacking ever since we lost Radiant Greninja. Gholdengo is all about using its coin bonus, drawing a bunch of cards, making it rain, knocking out your opponent's Pokemon with ease, and really it's just tastefully well built, well teched, and well equipped for the metagame in our early Journey Together meta. Like, we have our first weekend of in real life physical card play where the set's legal. I think this deck's going to do pretty well. There's a lot of players that usually play Dango. I think those players that play Dango are going to have a good run. That's where it's at. Nothing special. It's Dango, but it works. At number 3, we have Terabox. Now, Terabox has kind of been up there, kind of going from its number 1 spot to number 2, and now it's at number 3. I think the issue that we're seeing with this deck is it's so popular. I think it's the number 1 played deck online right now, is that players are countering it. I recently took the Cornerstone out of the deck because I'm not really seeing too many Pokemon that were walling, and instead I'm using Terapagos EX to go through their walls. There could be a handful of different things that we add into this deck, because you could add pretty much any energies, any Pokemon, and make it work, but mainly we're using Crispin and Tealmask Ogre Pawn with Energy Switch to power up various Pokemon to have powerful attacks from different Terra Pokemon, hence the name Terapagos. This deck might be a little bit inconsistent in the late game if you don't have access to those Noctowls, but it seems to work really well in the early game where you can push your opponent forward with Wellspring Ogerpon, knocking out 2 single prizers, or going for a big attack with Lily's Clefairy, Terapagos, or Pikachu EX. I think we're going to see a lot of this at Atlanta in our early metagame of Journey Together, so be prepared for it. It's definitely out there. At our number 2 pick this week, we have Terapagos EX with Buffalant. Now, this deck has been really taking off at online events, and it's quickly becoming more and more well constructed. So I think we're going to see a lot of players, top players, playing this deck at Atlanta, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it even sitting in the top 8. It's very similar to Terapagos, but instead of going with all the different techs, it went for a defensive route with Buffalant to use that curly wall to reduce the damage taken to your basic colorless Pokemon. Other than that, more or less, the list is kind of the same. It's really a powerful, big basic Pokemon deck and has all the answers that you'd want to see in a deck for the current metagame, has an incredibly strong matchup spread, probably the reasons why it's seeing some play. So if you haven't tested against this one, make sure that you use this video, do your homework, run some games either tonight, Friday, whenever you're watching this video, and prepare against one of the best decks. But it's not the best deck of the week. The best deck of the week is Dragapult Dusknoir takes our top spot. Now, it shouldn't be any surprise this deck's been popping off at online events, doing incredibly well. Sure, its win rate might not look the best when you look into online tournaments, but I think the issue is players are just generally playing this deck wrong. The top players understand how to balance knocking out your opponent's Pokemon, not knocking out your opponent's Pokemon, and of course the power of Iono plus Counter Catcher to always have access to your complete board. You're able to take matters into your own hand to draw 4, 5, even 6 prize cards all at once between Phantom Dive, and Dusknoir. So instead of going for those early knockouts on things like Pheasantipity by using Hawlucha before, what if we did it afterwards? That allows our opponent not to activate their Pheasantipity. That allows our opponent not to Iono us and have a lower hand size. In the mid to late game, we're in complete control. In the early game, we have a chance to lock our opponent with Bidoof. That's why this deck's the absolute best. I think we're going to see a lot of top players playing it, and we might even see it win the event. Will it win the event? Honestly, I'm here to find out. I'm really excited. Let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for our video today. I hope you've learned a lot about the metagame, and of course, that you feel as prepped as possible for Atlanta, your weekend of locals, or anything else that we have going on. There's a lot of great content that we produce on the channel lately. There's videos coming out tomorrow, and whenever there's a regional or a major event that I can put a top 10 out a day early, I'd love to do that. Hopefully we continue to do that going forward. Otherwise, we'll catch up with all y'all soon. Thank you so much. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
Tabi no hajimari wa tsune ni michi e no ippo de aru. Sore wa yami e to tsuzuku. 初めの一歩を踏み出すには勇気がいる。そして旅の終わりには旅を始めた時の自分とは別人になっているかもしれない。旅に出よう。物語の次の章がお主を待っている。 将軍の道を歩め侍の箱とともにアルティメットガードが送る冒険の第一章刀将軍の道近日発売
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.